Jesus, web, that was a good couple of hours. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SchmoeCenter. This is the post-match breakdown for the SchmoeCenter. We are the MBE crew. My name is Tony Hill, and joining me from the MBE crew is Mr. Thomas Scully.
How's everybody doing?
And then joining a special guest for this episode from Call to Action. Why did you have to do that? I was trying to be professional and be nice and give you a proper intro, but now I have to be a bitch here. I hate
Hi,
you.
I'm the bitch here.
Joining us from Call to Action, Adelaide Spence.
Yes, hi, I am not crying inside because we're meant to hate Ben Bateman, right?
We don't do character work on this show. We're actually professionals. Oh, that's gonna get me.
Are we going there, Tony? Are we going there? Because I got a lot more on you.
Oh Jesus! All right, you two. Let's break it up here.
All right. So just quickly to break it up. To announce to anyone watching this, we are going to be talking spoilers. The match has just happened. It's literally about 10 minutes ago finished. We are going to be talking about the entirety of the event. So if you've not watched it, please go ahead and go watch it first. If you come in and see and you go, "Hey, you said this inspired me for it," it's your own fault. Okay.
Disclaimer: if you have not watched this live event, close out of the app, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, right now. Go do absolutely anything else before, and then watch the matches. Then come back over here.
Yep.
Making us abundantly clear.
Abundantly clear.
And
also,
a lot of people are saying right now, "Ooh, I don't want to pay $10 to watch this match. Let's just wait a week." Let's be honest. You spend a lot more money on a lot less time. $10, not that much to spend on. And I know, Thomas, you were mentioning it earlier before the call started. One of the greatest title matches of all time.
Yeah.
If you just join the discussion, buy the match, watch it, you'll have an amazing time.
Yeah, it really is. Like, if you look at all the great singles title matches we have had, Merle Roca, Merle Irwin, Merle Oyama. Funny, all of them have had Merle. Merle versus anyone in a title match. Yeah, I firmly believe this match has surpassed all other singles title matches. Now, as far as greatest match of all time, personally, I think you break it up between the different divisions because you can make arguments for above the line Patriots. You make Kalinowski an argument for Kalinowski versus Cushing. Make an argument for Knapsack versus Whitwer. You make a case for all of those. But greatest match of all time, not sure about that yet, but definitely the greatest singles match, greatest singles title match we have ever seen.
Okay.
Absolutely, it was a fantastic match. It went down. As an event as a whole, how do we feel? The Damon Jacobson match as the undercard, and is it on par with what we've seen? Like, is it on par with the New York event? Is it on par with the other two match events that we've had in the past?
Well, I think considering that the undercard for the New York event was Andrew Guy versus a man whose head isn't screwed on straight, so I think by default this was a better match. Although this one did end in a TKO and the Burnett one did not. But I think overall Damon versus Jacobson was a solid match. I think you definitely saw Emily's last performance against Hannah. This definitely was not up to par with that one. I think she definitely struggled, especially in round one, to find her footing. And even though she got some assistance from the wheel, she never seemed to gain that footing back. And so I think Damon was able to avoid the mistakes, play a virtually mistakeless match. That's how he was able to win.
It's hard for me. I feel like I said it before we even got into this match. I think Emily is someone who you shouldn't discount as a competitor. And even I said it back when she had her debut against Winston. Like, she won by a TKO. So what? She hit 8 points. She is improving a lot. I don't think Dagnino helped her a lot managing here. And in the actual specific breakdown, we'll get to it. So round 2 was sort of a mess. And at the end of the day, I just don't think she came as prepared. And that's fine. She is a player who I think over time will have a lot of improvement.
If you are Emily, you should be feeling a tiny bit slighted because the attention was so much on the main event, and it's like Dagnino's attention, it kind of felt like it was so much forced towards that match, but just like she was just left in the wind to go and whistle.
And even in the run match, all eyes were on Damon because you had Roxy hyping up Damon, saying he's going to be a beast in IG because he is the Star Wars champion. You have everyone saying, okay, well, Damon's never lost a live event. He hasn't lost since he hasn't lost since that fatal 5-way back in like 2017 to Sam Witwer. So all eyes were on him, and no one was really talking about Emily aside from Danino's promo. No one was really talking about Emily. Unfortunately, she really didn't help her case in that matter tonight.
Well, and again, in defense of her, Dagnino was trying to manage not only 2 players, he didn't know where he was going, he was also managing 5 different egos. And then Emily just sort of fell by the wayside. And I'm also not sure how good Dagnino is in that area. I'm not sure if he's the right manager to help prep her. At least in other ones, you have co-managers and stuff.
True, because this would be the first match that Dagnino's ever managed in the Innergeekdom division. So this is like the first time that he's ever actually had to try and test that metal there.
Yeah.
And I think this is a continuing trend that we'll see, because we'll definitely see some managers who are less knowledgeable about the Innergeekdom ring than in singles and teams. So you definitely saw with Dagnino. He didn't seem like the very confident, boisterous Dagnino when he was conversing with Emily as he was when he conversed with Bateman. This was a Dagnino that looked a little bit confused out there, looked a little bit unsure of what to do. And even though I totally disagree with Roxy's claim that he's the worst manager of all time, considering he has 3 awards to disprove that claim, he didn't really do a great job tonight in terms of the undercard.
True.
I do want to defend Roxy a little bit. I feel like Dagnino is probably one of the luckiest managers because of the fact that he's given great players, and he's not asking to work and improve them. He's asking to help them win rather than to like supplement. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Dagnino is the garnish on the side of her plate, whereas Roxy's the meat and potatoes of a player. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But Roxy helps players become who they're meant to be. Dagnino is someone who just gives opinions. I feel like Roxy is more like influential as a manager.
Now, I would counter that by saying, if you look at someone like Who's the Boss, Bateman and Dagnino, they definitely had something clicking from day one. Riley and Bateman, that's a different thing. It took Dagnino to be like the glue that held Bateman and Riley together throughout that Anarchy tournament, and they eventually became a team that was one question away from winning the team belt. So I think, considering that's what Dagnino did after the Patriots broke up, after the Patriots retired, creating a team out of 2 people who characterized as spies each other, I think is, yeah, I know, but like I think that is just extremely impressive.
However, I feel that we're going to have to see more of Dagnino's managing ability as we go past that 4 off the Fintucker chain. Once you do get into the Milantes, Barbarians, that's where you're going to actually see Dagnino at work.
And you did see Dagnino do a really good job in the Barbarians match, which dropped yesterday. He did do a good job with him, making sure trusting the Barbarians to stay with his round 2 category. A lot of faith in him. So, yeah,
I do want to say Barbarian is one of the more terrifying rookies, and because I gave him as a friend on Facebook, so I see some of the weird shit he gets involved in. He threw a near perfect game at a bar trivia Oscars match that Ben Bateman had a rough time at, and he claims to be one of the Oscar experts. No, Barbarian's a fucking scary dude. I've met him. He's real deal. So
he's scary. Look, a man walks into anywhere with a pelt on his shoulder. You are convinced that behind his back is a crossbow, which he just killed that small animal with.
Yeah,
this is the weirdest Witcher sequel I've heard you pitch so far, Scully.
I would play it. All right, so let's break into the first match. We kind of talked about it already, but it was Alex Amon versus Emily Rose Jacobson. So just gave a bit of credence to Jacobson because everyone kept saying, "Oh, she did so well. She improved so well in her first and second match." She's got 8 points her first match, 18 points her second match. And this one, she scored, where is it?
15, I think?
11. So, but it was obviously a TKO victory. So, as a general, how do we feel that both players went? Because obviously, this is even Damon himself said that it's odd to get a question wrong.
I think for a debut, I think looking at Damon first, for a debut, he did pretty good. Look, he got 8 in round 1. That's very impressive. The MCU question, I thought it was. I personally, I think it's an easy question because I love the MCU and I can break down the phases pretty easily. But I can understand how the phases can be a really difficult thing to sort of count, not knowing where one phase ends and another begins. But I think guessing Guardians 2 is maybe a little of an odder guess. But yeah.
I think maybe he heard phase 3.
I'm sorry, what?
I think he possibly misheard it and did phase 3. That's a little extremely possible.
And you can definitely boil that down to nerves. First question in a brand new division. The last division you were in, you are the undisputed champion. Probably some nerves for that first one. But he recovered well, and he only missed one more the rest of round 1. What was the other one? Oh no, it was
Deadpool. Which annoyingly I went TJ Miller with. I knew it was Miller, but
yeah, the answer was Miller Lite.
So, Scully, you mentioned this actually in our private chat whilst we were watching this. So when it came out, Emily was in the secondary seat, Damon was in the favorite seat, and you had an issue with that. Yeah,
so I understand that the hype behind Damon's IG debut was palpable. And I understand that Cuckoo's Mess and River said the same thing. Cuckoo's Mess was the favorite. They came out second. But there's a difference between facing a 1-5 team that hadn't played in about a year and a half and somebody who has a TKO in that division and lost to Brandon Hanna by just 2 points. So I think putting Damon in the favor, it's not a huge deal. It's just something I had an issue with. If you have a highly touted rookie coming in against a veteran who's maybe 1-1 or even 1-2, I don't think that rookie should be in the favorite slot because you're just assuming that this person's great, and then if they come out flat, you're not looking too good putting them in the favorite slot.
It's also a thing about being a champion, in a sense. A champion should have that right, even if it's in a different division, to be classed as a favorite, even if they're not technically.
So if Dan Murrell, let's say hypothetically, Dan Murrell faced Robert Parker in their IG debuts, would Dan Murrell be in the favorite seat?
Yes.
So I think here's the thing, though, is, in my opinion, rookies should never be the favorite unless they're against another rookie, in which case it should be a pretty even field. Let's say Scully's playing against Emily. I know Scully wins that match. I know Scully's a better competitor. He's still a rookie. I say he's the underdog there because no matter what, it comes to records in terms of favorites. It comes to rankings. It comes down to accuracy. It comes down to a lot of things. But if you're a rookie, you should never be the favorite.
It comes down to experience in that division because Alex has never been in that IG division before. Yeah. The lights in different divisions, it's different in every single division. The aura of the feeling of that division is different than the one that you're used to. So I don't know. It's not a huge issue. It's just a nitpicky thing that I noticed.
It's a respect thing for the player, but a thing that I want to mention is that the second question, Star Wars, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, when you have Damon in there as the Star Wars guy, you expect him to get the Star Wars question. Was putting that as the first couple of questions a way of helping him calm down? And also, he did also say he said the line, "Just give me the point," after it got announced.
Yeah. I do think that was a pivotal point in round 1, missing the first question, but then getting his biggest strength as a second question. That's a good way to sort of get your feet wet in there. You have to think if maybe he had gotten a Middle Earth or Wizarding World for his second question, would it have been different? Would maybe if he had gotten that wrong and then all of a sudden the mindset completely changes? Yeah. But he did hit the Star Wars, and then you could see the confidence rising in him for the rest of round 1. And it led to him getting only 2 wrong.
And on this in general, Damon seemed to be a lot more cocky in his approach to this. Normally, especially in the Star Wars division, he was always like quite a humble person, just like, oh yeah, I just know the answers, I just answer it right. But it's like he seemed to have that bit more swagger to him. Is that something that you like?
That's a Rockstar's thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a Roxy Star thing. I think Roxy's been sort of whispering in his ear ways to get more of an edge in terms of his character, and I do like that. I do like what Roxy is doing with him, because if you're a champion, you're the undisputed champion. You haven't lost in over 2 years, going on 3 years. You're going to form some sort of attitude. I think Damon being the happy-go-lucky, humble guy really ain't going to work in this new era. You got to have some sort of edge to you, no matter what division you're in.
Yeah, and plus, I think it's interesting because up to this point, there hasn't been any real personality in the Star Wars division. There's been Ken Knapsack, who dominated the personality side of it, but then other than that, it's been non-existent. And with this new era, no pun intended, of everyone getting managers and every player having some sort of faction, story, character behind them, and even the league expanding. Sean Sullivan versus Adam Witt is a fairly low-key match in most things. And in League before, it'd be right to a title shot, because that's how Star Wars was.
Yeah.
We have actual rankings, we have brackets, you have to build up to a win. And with that came the characters. And I think Alex Damon sort of becoming that tweener heel-ish personality is signifying that the Star Wars League is evolving, which is the biggest criticism of it recently. It's the fact that it hasn't been evolving. I think this was the sign of the fact that it is becoming, it's catching up with the rest of the league.
Which is desperately needed. As you said, it's been very much everyone's lovely. They all know Star Wars well. They're all geeky guys and girls, but it's just no one said "Yar, I'm a space pirate."
And I am going to note something else. I think the questions in this round were very good. I think this was a very well structured round one question wise, because you had sort of more lower key questions like who played Lex Luthor, which is sort of a general knowledge thing. Everyone knows that it's Gene Hackman. Two more deep cut stuff like what two characters dig up Superman's coffin in Justice League, or who plays Rufus Screwjar in Deathly Hallows Part 1, who we only see for only 10 minutes in that entire series. So I think the range of questions was fantastic, and I had to give props to the question writers.
Yeah, I hate that Star Wars or that Star Trek question in round one.
I loved it. I loved it because
that's not a round one. That's a round 3 2-pointer.
You're gonna get you get confused, but that's the thing with Innergeekdom. You have to see the movies. You have to watch the movie. John Harrison is actually Khan. I absolutely love that question. I got a kick out of it in the live chat where everyone was so confused, John Harrison, and then people started guessing Peter Weller, and I'm like, no, it's
John Harrison is Joe Harrison's slightly older brother, who also apparently is a supervillain ? I don't think in the level of difficulty, everything else was you could pretty well estimate that. I think in terms of pure question writing, the Justice League one is the hardest because it's a context question, and this one is a casting on top of context on top of more context. I don't think it fits in round one. I think it's a good question, but it doesn't need to be that early in the match. Especially in a rookie debut.
When you're dealing with a division like Innergeekdom, where the people in this have specialized knowledge, and that's one of those things where that's in the back of your mind, oh, John Harrison, okay, well, he was actually Khan, so it's Benedict a Cumberbatch. It's not like singles and teams where the knowledge isn't as specialized, isn't as specific.
Personally, I loved that Heroes of Villains question, the what's Magneto's prison cell made out of in X-Men 2, because I was on the same page as Emily. I was like, oh, yeah, it's glass.
Nah, fam.
Nah.
good old plastic, or as Kaiser called it in the live chat, Tupperware. I got it.
Was that Kaiser? I just saw someone put there. I was like, oh, what the fuck is that kind of answer?
So walking out of round one, it ends up Damon 8, Jacobson 5. So that roughly what most people were expecting. What?
Yeah, I expected more points from Emily. I'll be honest. I was surprised that she ended with just 5. I thought a couple of those she might have hit, but I wasn't too worried about her. I knew if she got. I thought that at that point if she got some good wheel spins, she got her strength. She could definitely crawl her way back into this because Damon has never, gotten the wheel rounds or round 3 in Innergeekdom, and I was really intrigued to see how he would be tested with that.
True. And so he did go first. He spun the wheel first and ended up getting Wisdom Wheel first, spun again, and then ended up with opponent's choice. So it's an interesting one because Wisdom Wheel, obviously, he spun away from, so that's a sign of weakness. But he got that question right in round 1. Emily didn't. However, he didn't get a question in the MCU or Marvel right. So surely, if you're looking at that wheel, you should be going, okay, so that's a weakness for him. Let's go Marvel.
And that's a Dagnino thing. That's something Dagnino should have picked up on, I think. And that's something that dealing with singles and teams and dealing with IG is IG is a whole different beast. You have to think with, like, if you think for singles and teams with your with the right side of your brain, you need to think of Innergeekdom with the left side of your brain. You need to think differently when it comes to IG, and I think that's where Dagnino slipped up. It's very easy. Like I thought it was a good choice to give Damon Wizarding World with opponent's choice because he spun away from it, and that's the easiest thing to go to. But I wish Dagnino had taken a little more time to look at the questions he had missed in round 1 and try. Yeah. And maybe he did. Maybe he did, and he thought that Wizarding World was just the better way to go. But who knows?
To me, it reads as if he was like, "Okay, Emily, I watched your matches. You did spinner choice last time, and you got Star Trek. You do it again." Because it's like I was like, "Ooh, I've been studying that. I'm very good at that." When on paper, Star Trek is probably the one that he's probably the best at because it's more sci-fi stuff that fits in the Star Wars realm, and that's what he's going to go to first because it's the same genre. And you have to go in assuming nothing and assuming everything at the same time, playing against a newbie. But the fact that you at least know he likes Star Wars, you can make assumptions about his film taste otherwise. In my mind, I was legitimately thinking anything but Star Trek for both spinners and opponents, because that is the thing he's most likely to know.
Yeah.
And then, unless I'm mistaken, doesn't Emily work on comics and comic book shows over at is it Nerdist where she works?
I think RPG. Yeah. She does she's in that world a lot more, so it's quite an interesting scenario. So Damon does go ends up with Wizarding World, so he gets multiple choice for the first 2 questions. They both get the Game of Phones. Got a couple of fire. Who plays Ireland in the Quidditch World Cup final?
Guys, it's Bulgaria. Come on.
Like, that's an interesting one to get wrong because of if you just know the story, like Victor Crumb, he's one of the pivotal characters in that movie.
Who just knows that he's Bulgarian? I watched that shit a week ago and I had no idea he was Bulgarian. I just knew that he fucking came in from. Wouldn't he have?
The only time you hear the word Bulgaria in that movie is when you hear Fred and George screaming, "Here come the Bulgarians." That's the only time you hear, and you see like a Bulgarian flag like in the background when they're walking through the camp, like at the start of the film. But also, that's the only time you hear it in the movie. So again, these questions were great, perfect Wizarding World questions for an IG match. But yeah, it's those small, very tiny little details. That in order to be a very good IG player, you got to pick up on. But I gotta give props to Damon. He went multiple on 3 of these. He navigated. I'm sorry, on 4 of these. He navigated his way through it, and he knew them all on multiple choice, which is good. So he definitely knows the stuff. It's just picking up on it for 2 points next time rather than 1. So again, very good for a debut match.
So, just a quick question that was asked in the chat by Peggy Gubbins. Shouldn't competitors go into the matches already knowing what they're going to give opponents if they get spinners / opponent's choice? Wait.
Spencer's giving himself whiplash.
As a manager, that's one of the things you have to go in preparing for. Like, at least to me. And this is me speaking on my managerial strategy. Obviously, I'm not a 3-time manager of the year, so maybe I'm wrong. You need to give your players knowledge of here's what I need you to study and here's what you need to prepare to do. And then as a manager, you need to do your research into the opponent and figure out what are they good at, what are they bad at, and then you can help your player decide that. Your player should be just getting the knowledge. Emily should not have been thinking about that. Dagnino should have walked up, got it, and walked out.
And that goes back to what you guys were saying about how Dagnino was dealing with 2 other competitors who were playing that night. He definitely did not put in the time and the effort with Emily to help her prepare for this match. If he had, we might have had a different result. We probably wouldn't have had a TKO, and she might have won this.
And do you know anything as well for Emily and looking at the Finish Target Exchange there? It's a case where it's literally the only other person in IG in that division is playing for the title in the other match. So he got ready to step in and go, oh yeah, I'll help you. Here's what you need to do. Right. So So it ends up Damon up 12-5. So Jacobson spins. Something strange happens. She has to respin the wheel, not because of it and on spinning again, but because it didn't do a full rotation. Roxy was about to kick off with that. Especially because she ended up with spinner's choice. How pissed off should she be? I
think the full rotation wheel rule. I think that's an okay rule, because if you're just if you're actively trying to just spin the wheel just enough so you get your strength and it doesn't go a full rotation, that's not okay. I think having her redo it so it has to go at least a full rotation. It's a more fair, and it leaves more up to chance rather than just like trying to like very accurately pinpoint what you're gonna get. And I get Roxy's gripe because it ended at spinner's choice, and if she had won, we probably would have heard something in her post match. But ultimately, it didn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah. And so she ends up getting spinner's choice and goes with Star Trek. So that's obviously, like we mentioned earlier about it seems we've heard Damon in the past say Star Trek is a strength for him as well, and it's like she's used it in the past as well. However, looking at how she played, she went multiple 4 out of 5 times. She got two questions incorrect. Like if you have your choice and you're going to multiple 4 out of 5 times, that is a terrible, terrible sign.
And I think it's interesting that the only one that she got for the 2 was not a context question; it was a data question, which, like, at least to me, as a prospective manager, it's interesting to me what her studying style is. Because while she did hit them on multiple, the fact that she can only pull a data question is concerning to me with someone who, on Spitter's Choice, claims to be strong in Star Trek.
Yeah, it was an interesting move going for Star Trek, especially because Star Trek is the one that Damon was most likely going to be strongest in, and that leaves a lot up for steals. Again, it comes down to preparation and working with your manager, having a manager who knows what they're doing in the Innergeekdom realm. And it's frustrating because Emily is such a good competitor, but I think the decision-making, especially in round 2, was poor. It was very poor, and it killed her tonight. And I know she is a lot more than this match entails. But it was definitely frustrating to see. And if she has another match, she's gonna have to study up that Star Trek.
Yeah, especially if you're working on it as trying to play as your strength. It's an interesting one.
Peggy said something interesting in the live chat. I want to get your guys' thoughts on.
What if you don't know what they're weak in, you give them one of your strengths you could potentially steal.
I understand that perspective, but then you also have to think about if there's something weak on the wheel, then you have a greater chance of landing on it. So then the question becomes: do you give your opponent something you're weak in? That way you give yourself a better chance at getting a perfect round 2.
If you have one really big strength, like let's say your biggest strength is MCU, and they spin opponent's choice. You want MCU for your wheel spin if they're spinning first. So don't give them theirs, even though you think you might get steals and they might not be as good in, especially if you're someone like Emily who wants to quell all the talk about Damon. You need to make as many statements for yourself in the match as you can, and you do that by keeping your strength on there and hoping that you spin it when it's your turn to spin.
Also, just quickly from the YouTube page, Vice Guys 09. Also, Molly Damon is a very big Harry Potter fan, and for what I've seen from their YouTube channel, so I guess you can research, find out Alex will be good in it. So it's that thing as well where if you can't go through the door, you go through a window. If you don't have the data from like people playing matches, you can at least go and study like, they've got a YouTube page, let's go watch what they do, stuff like that, try and see if we can build up bits. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little bit of break talking about this, because we are going to bring in one of our dear friends who are there live, Mr. Nick Big Sal Carley.
Ooh,
how you doing, Swans?
Interview. There we go.
Well, hello there, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, loud and clear. Can you hear us?
All right, sweet. Yep, you're good to go. Yeah.
Champion. So, you've been there live. So, how was it? How was the event?
Man, it was a packed room. You know, it was a nice little theater. Had really nice acoustics, and you know, everybody was there to have a really good time. So I mean, with how well the Merle and Bateman match went, I mean, it was insanity that whole time in that match. So, I mean, I was actually sitting next to this guy right here. You know, he's here with me. So we were, you know, biting our tongues at a lot of those questions. We were like, oh man, especially the both 5-pointers were insane. So, you know, it was as good as advertised, and the crowd was there, and they loved it. And Christian and Mark loved the participation. I think they're going to come back to Atlanta at some point or another. So it was just a great time.
Excellent. And so it seemed like a lovely crowd and shit like that. Mercifully, no one decided to try and steal belts and walk up people on stage or like just answers. That's always a good thing.
Oh no, nothing too insane like that. There was a couple loud drunk people that kept screaming for no reason, but that's normal.
Yeah, we're not allowing you to any more events then.
Oh crap, me? No, I didn't mean no.
No, Tony, that's why you were kicked out of Spectacular.
It's true.
So, but no, it was a good representation. Pretty split crowd of people who supported Ben and people who supported Dan. So it was a good time, and everyone came out for Alex Damon. I think everyone was really happy that he won that match. I know Mark and I were cheering for Emily Rose to pull it out, but you know, it is what it is. So it was still a very entertaining match.
It's especially hard to play against the home crowd because Alex Damon, Atlanta native. So the crowd was definitely for him. So that's another thing Emily had to battle against, playing essentially a road game, and that's always tough.
There were still plenty of supporters for Emily Rose here, so I mean, she definitely had plenty of supporters.
So I don't know if you saw this, but there was a bit of confrontation between Ben Bateman and John Roker at the end when everything went down. Did you notice anything from like that we didn't catch on camera? But the reason why?
Not really. No, Mark and I saw that, and we were like, "What was going on there?" Like, and then it just sort of mellowed out from there. No one really said, it wasn't really addressed, like even afterwards or whatnot. We saw that too, and we were like, "Are they trying to pick a fight for some reason?" And I turned to Mark, and I was like, "Oh, this is the thing that everybody was predicting, that maybe Roka gets traded or something like that, crazy like that." But that obviously nothing happened. I was kind of surprised that nothing happened. I really thought that something was going to come up.
It does feel weird that the last couple of events, there's not been that big, like, oh shit, the Five Horsemen have reappeared, or oh, like someone's come out and challenged another person. You kind of had that at the end of this match, but
we haven't really had a
the closest thing was Robert crushing Alex Damon's interview.
That was
in a bit.
I will say, unfortunately, I missed the first half of that because I went to go get another beer, and I came in halfway through that, and I was like, oh no. I was like,
I think it's interesting.
Oh no, I wish I would have seen that.
There hasn't really been a big story push at a live event in a bit.
No, there hasn't been. No.
I think last one was Guy with the video announcing his return.
Yeah.
Even it's not the founding father
though.
Sure.
Yeah. Nick, we'll let you go in a minute, but just quickly, you just got out the VIP Q&A thing. Was there anything interesting that was said?
Yes, there was some. No, there isn't. Well, I will say there was something huge dropped that Christian basically threatened us not to share.
Okay,
But it is huge, and we'll learn about it in April. I will leave it at that.
You're posting that in the MBE group. We're not going to say it on camera, but you're posting that.
Well, we'll see. If I feel
because
brave
then
enough,
we'll have the
maybe.
FBI breaking down our doors, and I just had this door replaced. So,
but no, I will say there is something pretty huge coming just for the league in general in April. So we'll leave it at that.
Perfect. We'll let you go and get wasted. Thank you so much, Nick and Mark as well in the background for joining us.
Oh, of course. Sounds good. No, thanks for having me on.
No worries. See you in a bit, Bird.
All right. See ya.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the crowd, like, I'm not surprised that they're going to go back to Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the best markets in America for events like that. I think it's one of the big corporate capitals of America. A lot of large corporations and businesses flock there. There's a huge population out there in the Southeast. When you're in Atlanta, the entire Southeast, whole congregations from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Nashville, the Carolinas, Florida, they're all going to come to Atlanta. So, I think they made the right choice having an event like the second live event of the year in a place like Atlanta.
Well, just from a fan league, so I know at least 4 people that are there that don't have the Action Army brand stuck to their foreheads. Like,
thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I think it's more like a tramp stamp.
Yeah, it probably is tramp stamp.
I advocated for SchmoeCenter Nashville because geography wise, you could pull from like that entire range from like Georgia all the way up to like Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry, Union Jack, SchmoeCenter UK before anything else.
That's expensive.
The top 10 can do it.
Skybound though.
That's 2 people, not like a 20-person like crew.
Anyway.
All right. So getting back on track. So Damon versus Jacobson. So it ended up at the end of the second round. It ended up Jacobson 14-9 up. When especially with it being where you had him having opponent's choice, Emily having spinner's choice. Is that we try not to be rude about people here, but is that one of the poorest performances from in that situation that we've seen?
Definitely not. It's not one of the worst performances we've seen. I think the worst. I think like performances like that. I don't put that in like the worst of all, like worst of all time, because there definitely could have been opportunities to quell that, especially with like preparation, manager stuff. So I don't think that this was entirely on Emily. So I think that there definitely have been worse instances in the Innergeekdom division. Take Emily's first match with Winston. That wasn't a great match from Winston.
Well, I meant as in someone being given opponent's choice, someone getting spinner's choice, and having a 5-point deficit to the person that had opponent's choice.
Oh yeah, that's something we haven't seen before.
Such that deficit as well. It's just like Emily did a good job, but just like comparing it, like she should like the
missed opportunities.
Fate was in her hands and she dropped it. It felt like.
Well, it's also just like if it comes down to it, could have just been like he's a better competitor, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you have even spinner's an opponent, if you're losing that, I think it happened to Snyder pretty recently as well, and he still won a match. Oh yeah, it was against Mark Riley early last season. Like some days it's just the person who got that's the better competitor, and they can still pull out the win. Alex Damon could just flat out be the better competitor. And again, like we're gonna harp on like, oh, spinners and opponents went the wrong way, and Dagnino and her should have picked different categories. But if he knows more, he knows more.
That's very accurate.
All right. So going into the third round, so it ended up being a category that everyone forgets is part of Innergeekdom for the first 2 for Emily. So she had Back to the Future and Indiana Jones for 3-point. Right, Scully, you're a geek player. How would you feel if you're in that situation? You're down at much, and then you go, "Oh, it's not a category that you've had a single question off this entire match. We're giving you a different category." How do you feel?
Well, I think because in round 3 it expands to like 20 categories. Anything's fair game, from like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, to like weapons, objects, magical vehicles, to sports and soundtracks, to all this other like all the other stuff like that. I'd be taken aback a little bit because I would have been expecting something more like a category I've seen in the match before. But Back to the Future and Indiana Jones, we've seen that in the showdown a lot. They haven't been wheel slices, but they definitely showed up in round 3, and that's something where you got to be prepared for anything. You got to go over your Back to the Future. You got to go over your Indiana Jones. And Emily, she got the Back to the Future one correct. Indiana Jones one, that's a bit of it's a harder one because that's like a 5-second clip in Lost Ark when he puts his hand into the Ark and the sand comes out. A lot of people will kind of forget that part and just think of like the wispy ghost smoke that kills them all at the end. Yeah,
I'm an actor. Yeah, and then the 5 point. The 5 point would be the Star Wars question. How just poetic justice is that in this world that the Star Wars champion wins by Star Wars?
It would have been more poetic if Emily had hit it and Star Wars had been the one to force Damon to hit his.
That would have been a dope fucking moment if that pulled through. That would have been incredible.
But that 5 point, oh my god, that's something you see in one of Damon's other matches. I mean, that was a deep, deep, deep cut.
Like, it's a brutal question. Like, just a curious thing. Like, do you think any Innergeekdom player could have gotten that? Like a Hannah or Chandra or yourself? Like, or is it just a step above?
I think that's something that Kevin Smets maybe Robert Parker maybe Mike Kalinowski maybe. That's one that I am not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure any of them would have gotten it. Maybe Parker, Smets, Kalinowski, maybe Kanopik even as well. But yeah, that's just. I mean, that's something where it's said once, extremely quickly, and you need subtitles to go back, rewind, and pinpoint the moment where he said it. Because guess what? It ain't coming back at all in the movie again.
So it does end up TKO victory for Alex Damon at 14-11. Adelaide. So Emily said in her post-match review, the IG is a marathon, not a sprint. Is her run over though? She's 1-2 now. She's out. Like, is there a possibility that she can really get back in?
And I think it's only fair to speak comparatively. Again, I don't think Emily's a bad player. I think she's someone who needs to train a lot. I don't think she can ever win the title. And I think in singles that's fair. You can be a middling competitor and you can still have a strong fan base and still have a great time. Innergeekdom is very top heavy. I mean, in a year, Chandru could have won the title from Kalinowski. Smets is top, Kalinowski is top, Brandon Hanna's getting to the top, and then you have Robert Parker, and we have other players who could debut or other people who could just make a serious run.
Yeah,
in IG, it's not good enough to be just good. You need to be one of the greatest of all time, or else you will not contend at all.
This is why I don't like comparing singles and teams to IG, because Ben Bateman was 1-2, I believe, in singles after his loss to Andreyko. I believe.
Yes.
He lost to Andreyko, and all of a sudden he was 1-2, and all of a sudden, as of tonight, he's the former champion, but up until tonight, he was the singles champion. Came back from a 1-2 record. In IG, yes, Mike Kanowski had an 0-2 record and he became a champion, but that was a different era. Now it's no longer a marathon. It is a sprint. You have to get out to the 3-0, 4-0 records to be in serious contention for a title. That is how Innergeekdom is now. So I think Emily is a very good IG player. However, there are so many other phenomenal IG players out there that are better than her. I mean, Chan, Mara, Parker, Kalinowski, Smets, that's 5 players right there who are automatically above her. Add Damon to that mix, that's 6 above her. Merle's coming in, maybe that's 7 above her. It's rough. It's rough. It would take a miracle for her to get up to that title contention place.
Right. Emily feels very much like a player that it should be pushing very hard for Innergeekdom teams, because if there was Innergeekdom team, she'd be a fantastic teammate for somebody.
That is true. I think if they were in your team, she'd be a great complementary piece to somebody, to one of those title contenders. But again, Innergeekdom teams is not something we're going to be seeing anytime soon. So, yeah.
And then, so Greg Howell just quickly in the chat. With Moro coming into IG, Hannah, Chanju, Knapit, Parker, Smets, any man even play again, maybe in a 5-way.
God, no more 5-ways. If God is my witness, please, no more 5-ways.
I think 5-ways are good for like playing, like tournament playing and stuff. Like what they did for the singles tournament, I think in season 4 with Bateman, as like Bateman, Inman, Dewberry. I think that's fair. I think tournament playing.
As a tournament playing, yes, but
as an average match, no, that needs to fucking stop.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of having the 5-way just to get people on and stuff like that, and to have a different style of match, because I feel the Innergeekdom can have that to be something different, but it needs to be in place in part with the singles matches. If that makes
counterpoint to that, we're at a point in the SchmoeDown where if a player goes 0-1, they may never play again. A 5-way severely neuters a player's chance at competing again, because then you have literally a 4 times as likely chance to lose a match.
Well, you wouldn't class a 5-way match as if you lose that you get 0-1, but if you win it you do get 1-0 maybe. Like,
I think that's unfair then.
Because
I mean, technically, you still lost a match, though. And to Christian, if you're losing matches, you shouldn't play again. Like Bonnie Somerville might never play another SchmoeDown match again because she lost 1 match.
But that's 0-3 in 3 head-to-head matches.
Yeah, At least in a 5-way, at least you can show off that you have a bit of potential. Then you can get that singles match. Then if you get shit to bed there, you might be able to move on. But speaking of moving on,
if you miss the question in round 2, that's like maybe 5-10 extra points for all of your opponents. So the margin for error in multi-man matches is very slim.
So moving on. So Alex Heyman now, TKO victory. We want to know, where do we see him going next in the Innergeekdom division? Because it does feel that the pathway is already set. That you have Ace Cabrera versus Robert Parker. You have Chandru versus Brandon Hanna. You've got Smets sitting on top of his Iron Throne at this moment in time. Where does Damon fit into this situation? Is he close to the title picture at this moment, or does he need another victory or 2?
Robert Parker versus Alex Damon. Winner faces winner of Hannah and Chandru. Winner of that plays Mike Kalinowski. Winner of that plays Kevin Smets. I think it's a very simple tree. Ben Goddard might slide in there somewhere, but honestly, he's in no position to talk right now because I feel like he loses to every person in that thing, including Ace. I don't think this is the time. I think Christian has went into this just like how we did with Paulo Yama, just like I did with Ben Bateman. Here is the road to the title. See what you can do.
Yeah, Alex Damon's road. His road was kind of paved for him in that post-match interview, because Robert Parker came in full force, dropping words like "dicky doos," which obviously came from Kaiser's personal dictionary. He went full scorched earth on the whole league there. That was pretty surreal to see. Somebody who has seen not that side of him. That was pretty awesome to see. I'll be very excited if Robert beats Ace to see those two face off against each other potentially.
This is an interesting point to speak about Ron Parker because, in fact, obviously Ron Parker is a legend of the family. To anyone that mentions him mentions, he's pretty much undefeated. He's only had like 1 loss in a teams match in Geek matches, and his final match in the fan leagues was against actually Mr. Tom Scully here. It was a match on the Snowball event that just dropped in Full Metal. It was a fantastic match. Mike Kalinowski hosted it. So, Scully, how is it facing Robert Parker? It's like, obviously you have to hype more of like knowing how good he is. Like, how can you prepare for someone that good? How did you try?
Imagine that scene in Stand By Me when the train is coming right at the kids. I am all for the kids. But in all seriousness, that was the toughest match I've ever had to play because you're going up against a guy who never misses. he never misses. Like we're talking about, I mean, he refuses to get questions wrong. That's what he does, and
he refuses to get them wrong. Like I will not.
I will not get questions wrong. And the key to staying with him is just stay alongside him. Hope that any mistake he makes, you can capitalize on. But you gotta watch out because he doesn't make those mistakes very often. And any mistake you make, you can bet your ass he's going to capitalize on. He's going to steal any question you get wrong. He's going to correct you if you get a question wrong. So yeah, it's like battling a freight train that's coming at you 180 miles an hour.
And LA, so how do you think he's going to fit in for the Schmoedown? Like,
Robert Parker?
Because one of the biggest, I don't want to say criticisms about Parker, but it's always that whenever he's been on camera, he's always like, oh yeah, I'm just happy to be here. It's like he's always had other people to do his talking for him, whereas this was a completely different side to him that we saw today. Like how you're one of the best people in the family of cutting promos. Like how do you think he did, and how much is?
I know you're lying, but thank you.
I'm trying to be nice.
I know. I think Robert Parker is secretly the greatest heel of all time. Just like Caleb Boatman, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and we saw that today in the promo. I think he knows how to cut a promo. I think he knows how to be a heel. And with Kaiser in his corner, Kaiser just said, "Hey kid, run wild," and that's what he did. Robert Parker, the Spider, is going heel this season, and he's gonna scare the shit out of people. Like most Dan Murrells will be like. Honestly, yeah. I think Dan Murrell walks in. He's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm a nice guy. I think I'm funny. Whatever." Robert Parker. You think he's gonna walk in and be like, "Oh, I can beat you. We'll have a good match. Feel fair." But no, he's just like, "I'm gonna fucking bury you." Or what's the word he said? I'm a didgeridoo bury you. Like this man is.
Dicky-doo.
Thank you, Dicky-doo. He's gonna Dicky-doo you down. That kid is scary. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think in character he's going to be.
I think that every competitor, no matter how much personality they have, they always have this sort of dark side to them. And Kaiser drafting Robert Parker is going to bring out his dark side. Because if you saw what happened to Smets, we saw the fire coming out of Smets, and we're going to see the exact same thing coming out of Robert Parker.
Well, one last question before we move on. Who's bigger? Robert the Spider Parker or Wicket the Ewok?
Oh God!
What kind of big are we talking? It's Robert Parker.
This is why you shouldn't ask the question. This is why you shouldn't have asked the question, Tony, because you set up these jokes for Spence and he launches them 450 to the dead center.
Just the wind up and the pitch. Oh, look at
that. If people don't know, his Robert's nickname wasn't the Spider in the fan because it was the Hobbit. We always thought it was just because he's a massive fan of Lord of the Rings. No, we figured out why. The dude is fucking tiny. Roxy had like 6 inches on him.
Yeah.
Don't you say a damn word, Spence.
That's gonna be very interesting because you're gonna see the short jokes come in back and forth, and then you're gonna see the people who are a foot taller than him weeping when he KOs them.
He's gonna uppercut them right in the nuts, and he's gonna just keep walking through each new opponent he takes.
I mean, he is kind of like Wicket taking the speeders in Return of the Jedi, just causing chaos wherever, leading the stormtroopers on a massive chase, and then all of a sudden they like making them crash into trees and they all die. I mean, if that's the Wicket comparison that you're looking for, then there you go.
All right. So this is the end of that match. I'm moving on to the second match. But before we do, we're going to take a little bit of advertisement here. Because fuck it, we're not going to wait until the end of this because we want you bastards to actually see it. Hi, we love you, audience. So, Thomas, do you want to say what's happening next week?
Yeah, because Tony is a 5-year-old kid who can't wait for nice things. So we've been doing this show for a while now, and it's time to take the next big step in terms of the show and doing big things. We got a pretty big episode of this dropping next Friday. This is the Friday before the SchmoeDown Throwdown. We have a little special guest who joined us for a quick little interview to discuss her plans for this season, her plans for her faction, and how she's going to conquer the entire Schmoedown. That's right. Shannon Barney interviewed with us. That interview is dropping on the Friday before the Schmoedown Throwdown. We're going to be talking everything from the drafts to the family versus corruption, to go over all the members of her faction, and to basically ask her like what she's excited for, what she's really passionate about in terms of the Schmoedown. We had a great conversation with her, and I believe the comments that she made, they're gonna hype you. They're gonna hype everyone up. Everyone is gonna be excited for corruption. So tune in this Friday for our exclusive interview with Shannon Barney. It's gonna be dropping right here on this page. It's the day before the Schmoedown Throwdown, and on that day we'll also have our weekly live show recapping the Friday show. But that episode will also be dropping on the same day. So watch out for 2 shows coming from this channel on Friday. One with the queen of the Schmoedown, Miss Shannon Barney.
Yeah, so we're going to do our preview episode, which we're going to have a portion of the interview. Then we're also going to release the full the interview, because we went in the weeds with her. It was a fantastic interview. It really got into a lot of the details, just like really understanding the mind of her going into this, because it's a case of someone that was being dragged in, like, oh no, you should do this, you should do this. Hey, surprise, you've got now 10 people to manage.
And exploring the mindset of somebody who is that new to managing, and just seeing her kind of insight on how she does it, it's really fascinating. So I hope you all watch it. I hope you all enjoy it, because we sure did. Yeah. Taping that with her. But yeah, it's gonna be this Friday before the day before the Throwdown. So stay tuned for that one.
We got a fantastic promo for this coming up. It should be here tomorrow. Just say thank you so much to Peggy Gubbins for editing that for us. She's doing a fantastic job of weighing up above and beyond. Speaking of Peggy Gubbins, Fancy Film Fest every Wednesday. You should go watch that on the feature presentation page. This week we are doing best Pixar characters, so that's fun. So speaking of Pixar characters, the next match feels very much like Cars, the greatest race ever. 2 of the great competitors.
Kick him out.
I run this bitch.
Sorry, kick him out.
You're running this bitch into the ground. That's what
you're
doing.
So you're running this bitch into a wall and flying in circles like Doc Hudson.
Or like Lightning McQueen in Cars 3.
I was about to say, I watched Cars 3 earlier today. A, is a really good film. And B, Doc Hudson.
Society of you people who covet the Cars trilogy and think it's God's gift to mankind. The first one was good. The second one was garbage. The third one was okay.
The first one is trash. Second one is trash. The third one's pretty good.
Yeah. First one's okay-ish. Second one, burn it in a fire. Third one is actually really good. They've really got the characters down. That whole mentorship thing works perfectly. But screw it. We're not talking about Cars. We're talking about that on Wednesday, probably, if I decide to draft Lightning McQueen. You never know. So Ben Bateman versus Dan Murrell. So we kind of spoke about this at the beginning of the show. I should ask, has there ever been a match more hyped than this in the history of Schmoedown?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There have been matches that have been hyped from this. Patriots versus Above the Line 2. That promo was 10 minutes long. That promo was at least a tenth of the video that dropped. This was very much hyped, but I think I think it's less so because they're 2 guys from the same faction. Even though you have all the stuff going on with the Finstock Exchange, all the tension between Roca, Bateman, Dagnino, Murrell, Riley, even though you have all that going on, they're still members of the same faction. It's not like these are 2 players who have been at odds since day one of the Schmoedown. It's not like these have been 2 teams that have been destined to play each other since they were created. These are 2 players who are on the same faction, who respect each other. Hell, Bateman managed Murrell in the New York event. So it's not like there is just inbred hate between these 2 players, which I think always makes for high anticipation. So there definitely have been more anticipated matches, but this I think this one is up there in terms of the talent level that we saw tonight.
Spence, any thought?
I mean, one of the greatest singles matches of all time, one of the greatest title matches of all time. I'm not a fan of the way it turned out. And at the end of the day, Dan Murrell is the greatest singles competitor of all time. So what do you expect? But Actually, so I was going to Twitter a couple minutes ago, and Bibiani had a great tweet that I wanted to like echo his sentiments. While Bateman is the greatest strategist in the Schmoedown, Dan Murrell is the most knowledgeable. So Bateman's failure, when it came down to it, was not being 1 point ahead. When you went to sudden death, he had a pretty good chance of losing, just because Dan knows more than pretty much everyone involved in the show.
True. Yeah, it just feels like Murrell, like you need to just have that little bit, not even intelligence of the game, but just like that tiny bit of luck of just like being able to figure out one thing that he's not thought of. But so actually, something that got announced that kind of changes the page for quite a lot of this. The rule now is that when factions play against each other, the losing person does not get any points. So if you have a faction versus faction match now, it's now to the detriment of your players if you're a manager.
But you're also guaranteed some points at the end of the day.
You're guaranteed points, but you don't get points with both players. Whereas if you decide to, like, obviously in a title match, you're never going to say no. But if like what I'm thinking is Ben Goddard versus Brett Sheridan for the Den, they can now go, no, screw that. We don't want to play each other because only one of them is going to get points. We might as well split them off, have two matches where they have a chance for more points.
I don't think it's personally. I don't think it's that big a deal. You know, it makes sense because if you have players going up against each other, there really shouldn't be like a monopoly on points or things like that, especially this early in the season. I think if this rule had been, I think it's a good thing this rule was enacted now rather than like in June, July when you've already had matches like this drop. I think if you're going to do it, you do it right now, and I'm totally okay with it.
Well, I think to look at it is if your players are in a title match, you still win. You still get more points by getting to a title match in the first place, and it's better for you to get there and to not get some points than for another faction to get there and still get points if they lose. Even by losing, you're still preventing other factions from getting more points at the end of the year. Do you want them to get as little as possible? I think it's fair.
Very true. That's a different way of thinking of it than I did. So this started off where Harloff probably announced that there were going to be no promos from either competitors before this match started.
As then you.
Then Dagnino got a mic. Like, on the scale of 1 to 10, how certain were... I know, Scully, you mentioned this in our private chat on how certain you were that some shit was going to go down.
I was adamant. I was like, oh, Dagnino takes the mic. Roka looks pissed. If Dan loses, they're done. They are done. But I think now that Dan won, it's going to be hard to trade a guy who has half the belts the league has to offer. Because you, at the end of the day, you want those belts. So I think Dan's win has sort of quelled those trade rumors for now. But I don't think we have to ignore the tension between Roka and Dagnino and Bateman. That's something that I think is going to come up if either Roka or Dan loses their belts.
Yeah, just feels like just powder keg ready to go off now with Roka, especially. Like obviously, Spencer's now set in stunned silence because of fear of John Roka.
Oh no, my computer just sort of flipped around. I had to be nice to Roka for. What was that, like 24, like 36 more hours, and I'm good?
Beth.
Yeah. Actually, no, it's 48. Yeah, 48 hours. I mean, in all respect, John Roka said it best when he said the competitors weren't cutting promos. Managers did, though. And that's fair. And I do think it's weird. I think it's weird that Roka was like, I can't believe Dagnino cut a fucking promo. No, I'm going to. Because Dagnino didn't say anything bad about Dan. It's like, I'm confident in Ben's abilities. They're both great players, and I'm managing Ben today because, whatever. And at no point did he say, like, Dan's fucking going down.
He spoke for both of them.
Yeah. And Roka's like, well, it's my turn. Respect your elder. Like, what the fuck, Roka? Like, this isn't me being angry at him. Just like, they were both nice, and he came at it aggressive. And great, that's a Roka thing. He's a very boisterous personality, and he wants to get it started. He's great at cutting promos. That promo was great, but it's like you didn't need to go that far. You want to be like, Ben, you're incredible, but so is Dan. Good match. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do.
And that just and I think that just shows how worried he is about the trade rumors because he wouldn't, because he does that to hype up Dan, to make Dan, to reassure Dan that, hey, I got you. We're together till the end of the line. You're the better player here. Let's make it happen.
Scully, we're done with the IG talk now. You don't need to quote Captain America.
I'm sorry. It's the fourth on average. Jesus. Yeah, I think he definitely knows that a trade could be on the horizon, and if that happens, he wants to stay with Dan no matter what. And that was a way to reassure Dan, hey, I'm with you. I'm speaking for you, not both you and Bateman.
Okay. So going into round one, so it seemed that Morrow seemed to be more jovial than he has in a lot of matches by keep going back to the well of the Sir and Lord joke. You never really see that side of that Morrow before. It felt very...
I was worried. I was worried that Bateman was gonna challenge. His answers were wrong. Like Sir John Woo, I think honestly, you have to think Bateman may be thinking to himself, "Hey, if I challenge that Sir John Woo question or Lord Tom Hanks, he gets the wrong. I win the match."
Legitimately, this was Bateman's match to lose. And I think the issue of it is like he had everything to gain and everything to lose. Mm-hmm. If he had not been in the same faction, it wasn't so like light and fun. If Ben went into this scorched earth style, he would have destroyed Dan in the match. And you see that in his speed round, and you see that in the betting round. If he goes full if he puts himself 110% into this, he wins the match.
And even if it were those two bits where it's like at least if he brought Dagnino on stage and pretended like he was trying to challenge, it was like at least throws a brick into Morrow's thing, because he's pretty proven in that freeway match that Morrow can get a tiny bit rattled with the idea of constant challenge requests. So if you just toy with that and just and make it an effect thing, that's a valuable weapon you have against Morrow now. Especially if he's giving you such ammunition, just rolling over in his belly, just like, hey, here you are, have a challenge on me.
Well, in a perfect world, even in the actual live stream itself, it took him a long time to get Ben's music ready. I was thinking, what if I hear that acoustic steel dre they got going now, and it's the team action, the heel thing, which would never happen suddenly like that. But I'm thinking, what if? I think
it's dream, Spence.
Shut the fuck up. But I think in this perfect world of in my own perfect world of Ben going heel, he wins the match. He comes in the stand thing, and he gets in Merle's head. Ben being a face here is what lost him the match, in my opinion, because you're not gonna have more knowledge than Dan. You're not gonna beat him in sudden death. He'll hit a 5-pointer before you will. You need to get some leg up over him. The strategy obviously wasn't enough. The head games would have been what decided it.
So both players kind of seem to be on par with each other until the sixth question, which was a comedy question. What spoof movie franchise had the smell of fear and the final install as category as subtitles? We didn't see what more Bateman's answer was, but that was the first blow in that match. Bateman got that incorrect.
You put it in bold, holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that?
Yeah. Final install. Naked Gun 3.5.
I know Naked Gun 3 and a third, but it's I didn't know they had subtitles. I thought that was just the numbers.
I didn't know the smell of fear, but I definitely knew Final Insult was Naked Gun.
I thought they're 44.
Ben Bateman did it. This really is the apocalypse.
What can I say?
I could have sworn I thought those were the subtitles to Naked Gun 44 and a quarter, 55 and a fifth. I thought they were just fucking with us. I was thinking what parody franchise? It's not Austin Powers. It's not Scream. It's not Scary Movie. What the fuck is it?
Yeah, Final Insult is the last Naked Gun one there from memory serves. But it really does seem to rattle Bateman getting that question wrong. How long into the match did it take? Because he also did get his final question wrong of that on the animated The Clown with Terror Face and Oogie Boogie in which film?
Totally unintentional. I'm sorry, Ben. I think we're gonna get into it in a second. I think Ben is in his head until round 3.
I agree.
He was not. He came that day. He came in. I think I'm not sure if you guys picked up on it when Christian asked him are you ready? He's like, yeah, let's do this. He was nervous. He was scared, and I think he needed to buy into his own hype to get into the match.
I think in a match like that, you start with an even playing field. We know that Merle is the better player, So Bateman knows the second Merle gets a higher ground, like gets high ground over him. Another IG reference. He knows that Merle is going to control the match, and Bateman needed to take control of that match, and he was able to do it with that third round opponent's choice. That was how he got into the match. He took control of it, and he made it his game. We were playing Merle's game up like for the first 2 rounds.
It did seem like that way. So Merle does go perfect in the first round. It ends up being 9-6. So it does. So Merle decides to let Bateman go first, and then he ends up spinning, getting fancy sci-fi, spinning, getting Nora Ephron, which felt such like a weird, like a category in spite of Merle. I don't know whether that was a choice from. I know Rogue mentioned at the end Tyler Perry was one of Bateman's choices. I don't know if Nora Ephron was as well, because it makes a lot of sense for that to be because of what we've seen of rom-coms being a weakness in the past for Merle.
It's also like if you look, I think as a strategist, Ben made a good choice if it is his. I don't think it was because of the tell to take that beforehand. Ben is good at studying. He's a very good studier. And Nora Ephron as a brand new category and as a shallow category that is studyable, it's a good choice for him because you'll get easier questions that you can actually prepare for.
Yeah. Bateman does go perfect in a round, going 8 for 8 and 14-9. And like it also seemed like Bateman, he was messing around with his glasses a little bit. He was doing a bit of like waiting to the very last second strategy release that he does. Like it felt more like he was just like going, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna play my game. I don't care about being a face reveal now. It seemed like that last question when he took his glasses off and he was just like just toying with him a little bit, it just seemed to be like, okay, this is me now getting back into being Ben Bateman.
Yeah, I no. Sorry. I agree. I think that him getting Ephron, that was a big turning point. However, it still wasn't his match, even though he got it perfect and he was resorting to his old Bateman tactics. Dan still was in control because Dan was only down 5 with his spin left, with his spin still to come. So Dan still held all the cards, but this was a good first step in Bateman trying to like wrestle control of the match back from Merle.
And then Merle ends up spinning again halfway and keeping it. Like, Spencer, do you think that was just, well, obviously it ended up being a wise choice in the end since he won, but do you think he should have spun again just to try and put the boot down and just try and finish earlier, or?
Well, I think Dan's learned a lot from Ben, and we saw that. I forget what match it was, but he spun something like this before, or just like a single actress, and we're like, "Are you sure?" And he went perfect. I think the colossal question is a little hard. As one of the few fans of the movie, even I was a little stumped on it because it's a context question that they. Sure, whatever, Tony. I guess Japan just because of the kaiju connection. After that, it was stumped. So but I knew the other 3. I think they're fair questions. I think Dan's were a lot easier than Ben's because they were less context. But I mean, it's not a bad choice because I keep bringing it up when we talk about how questions are written. If you talk about gendered strength, Anne Hathaway is typically a gendered strength, which means the male competitors, which is most of the league, are going to spin away from it. So on average, the questions are going to be easier. If Dan comes into this and studies that, he's going to get easier questions and he's going to get them right more often. I think it's a smart choice.
And also, I think Anne Hathaway has a very strict filmography. She's been in a lot of really big movies like Les Mis, especially for people my age, Princess Diaries, Interstellar, like these are movies that are very well known. Colossal, the only one not being one that's super well known, but it's also a recent one, so it's one people would have been more inclined to see because it's a recent release. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking now, just trying to think of what Anne Hathaway films, like in small independent films she's ever done. I mean, apart from
you could do Rachel Getting Married. I don't think a lot of people like rush out to see that. But that's about it.
Like Love and Other Drugs, potentially. Like Don Quixote.
Is she in that new Don Quixote movie?
No, this was in 2014. Don Quixote.
I don't know if that had a theatrical release.
It might not have.
Yeah.
It was
Anne Hathaway's a big enough actress. So you think you would hear about everything she's in? So like I was writing questions for a match today, and it isn't like an actual thing. It's for my own school, so I can talk about it. It's like, how many movies have Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan starred in together? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's 3.
Yeah.
It's 4. They're in a 2015 movie called Ithaca that no one remembers.
Directed by Ryan, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
So it's like suddenly the question has fundamentally changed. It has now moved from like a 3-pointer to like a 5-pointer championship match because no one fucking remembers Ithaca.
I remember Ithaca. It's not a bad film. So come back to this one quickly. All right, stop swearing at me. It's my channel. Our channel. Pop. So that's the first question Moro gets wrong in this match. And then it ends up only being a 1-point lead going into the third round. So this is when. So in the spectacular match when it was Bateman versus Bibiani, there was a lot of controversy about opponent's spinner choice being on the wheel for a third round, and it once again proved to be an important part where opponent's choice came up and Bateman had the choice. Do you think that opponent's spinner choice should be allowed in the third round?
I think so. I think if like for strategy points, if you're for the champion and you're down, you get spinner's choice like we saw with Bateman. You wrestle control the match right back because that was a huge turning point because then Bateman got the category he wanted. He got 3 points out of it. Merle didn't bet anything, and all of a sudden, Bateman's in the lead, and he has the momentum going into these last 2 rounds.
Yeah. And you go with the narrative of like the master strategist. Again, Dan knows more than Ben, and he's taking every precaution possible to make sure that he wins that match, and that is the way he does it. And even if Dan gets player's choice, what is he going to do? Get another perfect round? Because that seems pretty like on par for him. Ben had everything to gain from spinner's choice and opponent's choice. Because then, like, he knows the wheel beforehand, he studies it, and he's ready. He just knows how to screw over Dan. And Tyler Perry is the perfect category to do that.
True.
Because he's a director / actor / studio head who absolutely no one has like a burning desire to see him in Schmoedown, I don't think. Like, I think he's the one person. He's the one person as a slice. People are going to be like, hear the name and actively go away.
Bateman said he loves the Tyler Perry movies. So that's a huge strength for him.
Yeah,
there's no way that's true. There is absolutely no way is that. I think.
Why not?
Because number one, they're bad movies. Well, number 2 is just again like talking to the man like doesn't seem like the kind of thing that he'd be interested in. Like doesn't seem like his genre or his piece of film. Andrew Guy, yes, I'd see that because Guy is like he prefers the romance films, and a lot of Tyler Perry stuff is either the romance or the trashy thrillers that are still appealing to how he was raised. It doesn't feel like a Ben movie.
Fair, but Ben just loves Medea.
I mean, like, granted, that question, I just flat out guessed mechanic and it ended up being like the correct answer because like when you're dealing with like a blue collar worker, there's just like only several professions that come into mind. Mechanic, which is the first thing. I was like, oh, mechanic. I don't know, house, construction worker, mechanic were like the only 2 that came to mind. I was like, okay, mechanic.
Hi,
Peggy's comment.
Never remember like a bad movie, Spence.
Fuck
Chicago.
You, Peggy, and your fucking. No. Who fucking directed your favorite movie that came out like 2001? Albert Brooks or some shit? I don't care. 1991, whatever it is.
Okay.
Peggy's like, oh, we should watch this really fucking stupid romance film.
Defending Your Life.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, she's made me watch that before. It's all right.
All
right,
Chicago's better.
Let's go back into this. So it ends up Bateman does choose Tyler Perry as a thing, and so Murrell goes 0, Bateman goes 3, and that's where the whole match kind of feels like it. That felt like it was just a massive swing back into Bateman's power.
But you have to really commend Murrell and Roca in general because we heard in the post-match, Murrell was like, okay, I'll go 0 or 1, 0 or 1. And Roca's like, all right, what does your gut tell you? Like, how do you feel this is going to go for you? And Murrell's like, 0. And Roca's like, go for it. Just go for it.
It feels like
he gets 0. And that's what kept him in the match. He knows that he doesn't know Perry. He made a judgment call. He bet 0, and all of a sudden he's only down by 2. And even though the speed round didn't work in his favor, he was still in the match.
Like it felt like such a dangerous move for Moro to do. That it's like just pretty much taking an entire round out. Pun unintended.
But also, if it's a category you know that there's a slim chance you're going to get it, if you bet 1 or 2 points, all of a sudden it's not 17-15, it's 17-14, it's 17-13. If you're battling a 3-4 point deficit going into the speed round, which is what Bateman drools over, and then all of a sudden in round 5 you're not down by 5, you're down by 6, you're down by 7, and then your coffin is being wheeled up to the stage ready for your funeral.
However, it's also the case of sitting out an entire round just feels so wrong. Like you'll pretty much get, like, even if you're not going for 1 point, at least it might be a simple question to get.
But if just got his biggest strength, and you know he's going to hit it, and you know you're not going to hit it, why risk it? Why not just say, all right, he gets this. It's a foregone conclusion. He has this round. This is his category. He loves these movies. I'm going to sit this one out. He'll take the lead. He'll take a 2-point lead. And I just got to rally in rounds 4 or 5 because there's 2 rounds left with massive point swings in play. So Merle, I think, had the correct mindset. I think Roca did a good job trusting Merle to make that judgment call right there. And that's why Merle is one of the greatest of all time, because he makes decisions like that on the fly and he keeps himself in matches like that.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. It does feel like obviously Snyder in the Oyama match, that's what it felt like. He's kind of blamed that he went at 1 point for the betting round. That's the reason why he lost that match. Like, it does feel that it's now going to be a strategy going forward, which is terrifying for if you're a player sat there. But so moving on to round 4. So Spencer, how do you feel about? Do you think Morrill even tried in round 4, or
I think we're talking about round 3. Ben was Ben was feeling himself, like he was ready for this, and that I think going into this he was very much like ready. He's like buzz, which is why he screwed himself out of that the Black Panther question, because he jumped to it. He's like, oh, I like this, let's do this one. Like he needed to slow down, which I think is what lost the match, but like. He's a good speedrun player. We've seen that in all of his stats. He has very good and quick recall.
I was very concerned that Ben was going to cave in that 4th round. I was, because he got the first one right. Then he had the right year. He knew Black Panther, but he said Infinity War. And that's one of the things where you have 2 seconds to answer. You get in your head a little bit, and then he missed it. And at that moment, I thought, oh boy, if Dan just even gets one of these right, Bateman's going to collapse. He's going to take the lead. And that'll be all she wrote. But good on Bateman for composing himself, getting the last 3 right, and he took a 5-point lead going into the last round, which is like, as we talked about on this show, 5 points or less keeps you in it. 6 points or more pretty much ends it. And you see the 5-6 point you saw it, because it was a 5-point deficit. Dan was able to tie it, and Ben missed his 5. If it had been a 6-point deficit, Ben would have won this with his 3-pointer.
True. All right, so Bateman does go 4 for 5 and not getting 1 incorrect, so it does mean that it's a 3-point victory for him in that to take it 20-15. So it felt like the winds were blowing in Bateman's favor at that point. He had that. The spinner's choice gave him that 3-point lead. He got that big win on that in a speed round of getting every single question. It felt like destiny was on his side going into this final round.
Yeah. It's frustrating because I think breaking it down. Actually, Frank did a great analysis of it on Twitter. I think like a week ago, where it was like Ben's hit more 5s, but each time he's hit a 5, he's lost the match. Where it just came down to like, can Dan hit his 5, and he did. It was like, oh, Ben can hit this. I think he made a bad guess at the end, that one, unfortunately. But like Ben had to hit his 5 or else he lost. And this comes down to how you play the game. Round 3/5 or whatever is raw knowledge. Ben did not have the raw knowledge. Dan did, and that's what's going to define the 2 players. He couldn't game the system then, and that's what lost him the match.
That's what I've spoken about in the past. this game, it's 2 parts. 1 part trivia knowledge, 1 part strategy. Dan had the upper hand in the knowledge. Ben had the upper hand in strategy. Dan's strategy in round 3 to sit it out, bet 0, elevated him a little bit. Ben couldn't catch up in the knowledge parts, and that's all she wrote.
And looking at the way round 5 worked as well, it did feel that it was kind of, obviously nothing in SchmoeCenter is written apart from like some of the storylines, but it did feel like it was written in the stars. Like Dan's 5-pointer was a rom-com question to get that against the other member of Team Action, because rom-com was pretty much the thing that fell him against Andrew Guy. And then Ben Bateman in his 3.1 getting classics, the thing that fell Paul Oyama. Like it felt that it was just like everything felt that it was going Bateman's way. And then that 5-pointer in Judd Apatow in heavyweights, what's the name of the new head counselor from Far Away?
I think this match in general was a tough break for Bateman. But I'm kind of glad Dan won, because Dan really was the better player tonight. He missed 2 questions for the entire match. Ben missed 5. He was hands down the better player throughout the whole match. And even though Ben is the master of strategy with Dagnino, Dan had that little bit of strategy in round 3, and that put him over the edge.
Just quickly, Peggy Gubbins, that rom-com 5-pointer felt more like a 3-pointer, but I'm biased. So it was. I
don't like that. I really don't like that question.
I would just quickly say, Michael Cera and Kat Dennings appears in what 2008 romantic comedy? So
well, I mean, if like casual fans, they'll know who Michael Cera and Kat Dennings are, but they're not going to think, oh, what movie are those 2 in together? I'm totally like it, and I straight up didn't know it. I did not know that movie had those 2 actors in it, because I've never seen that movie. So I can see why I can see the qualms of it not being a 5-pointer, because it's the movie came out 12 years ago. It's a more recent film. If it had been like a 1988 film or a 1978 film, then it would have been more inclined to be a 5-pointer because it's older. But we rarely ever see newer films we rarely ever see data questions about newer films in the 5-point category.
True.
Yeah.
This was one of the first instances where we saw that.
Also, it's a dodgy title as well to remember.
It is. That's very true, because you could have easily, like, instead of Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, you could have said Nick and Nora's
Definite Playlist or something.
Or Endless Playlist. Or something
one word
like that.
At Nick and Nora or something like that. Would look like just one small change, like title is all she wrote.
But I mean, if you get down to the phrasing of those 2 5-pointers that we heard, one is name a movie, one is name a character from a semi-obscure comedy, and then again, it's also a foreign name, which, granted, was not a hard one, but being a foreign name, you're likely to flip it up. I think these are like fundamentally they're unfair 5-point questions.
However, the situation is always going to be, though, that those are the 2 types of questions that you get in the SchmoeCenter. And any movie match, you get either it's a IMDb-able question or it's a plot-based question. So unless they do it where it's a case of they decide, all right, you're both getting plot-based questions, you're both getting movie questions.
Yeah. Well, it's and like even if you break it down, like you can guess your 5-pointer, and you should not be able to guess a 5-pointer. Michael Cera and Kat Dennings, you got 2 actors. Go through their IMDb, do it. And for me, just because the way I got the answer is let's look at Michael Cera. Scott Pilgrim was 2010, Juno was 2006 or 2008, whatever the fuck it was. You gotta find out 2006, yeah. You gotta find what was in the middle. What was like the smaller film he would have done in the middle there. Oh yeah, Nick and Nora possibly, because I know that he was in that. I didn't know it was Kat Dennings, but looking at the poster and I saw the book in high school, so I could see the cover of it, which was also from the movie.
But also on the side, if you're not familiar with those 2 actors and their filmography, like right now, I want to say Nick and North's Infinite Playlist, and I'm thinking Zack and Miri made a porno. I'm literally right now confusing those two movies because they're the same structure. It's two names and then like an adjective and then like the thing that they're doing or the thing that they have.
Yeah, the one that I got confused with was Jesse and Celeste Forever. I was in my head to go
I guarantee
that one of this one.
I guarantee no one else made that mistake.
It's dumb. Like way too filmed.
Right now, I know that if I say Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist 10 times, one of those times I'm going to say Zack and Miri make a porno.
I think you're just thinking of other things right now, Scully.
Yeah. No.
All right.
No.
So we'll get into the multiple sudden death now. So both of them get their first question right. The second one, who co-starred with Charlie Sheen in Men at Work?
Fuck that. Man.
I honestly thought that was an easy question because I do that and I've never seen the movie.
It's the GIF. Everyone's seen that GIF of them both.
What GIF?
It's a GIF. It's a GIF.
I don't know it.
The two trashmen clapping.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw Peggy post it.
There's
earlier.
that's those two like nodding, like.
But also, like Emilio Estevez is like that's not like a face that I know. Like,
have you ever seen The Breakfast Club?
I have.
You ever
seen the face stands out to me.
You ever seen the Mighty Ducks?
No, I haven't. Don't waste my time on bullshit sports movies.
Get the fuck out.
Any sports movie not named Warrior or Creed is bullshit.
Get out. But yeah, it's obviously it is also one of the only films that Emilio and Charlie, both brothers, did together. So it's kind of it felt like it's one of those ones. Obviously, if you can't remember it, it's just an interesting one because we've never really spoken about sudden deaths on this show before. What level should the questions be? Should they be a 1-pointer? Should they be a 3-pointer?
Round one. It goes back to round one.
So it should be like 1-point questions.
Well, the way I see it, should be like the free for all, where it's like a mix of 1, 2s, and 3s. And I think that's fair as long as you know how to balance it correctly. You shouldn't just throw 3 after 3 after 3, but just keep it like the free for all. Just write the questions as you feel them coming and just throw them out there. And and going into sudden death, like I remember I was like, because I didn't know the answer when he said fucking Chaz for heavyweight. It's like, okay, shit, we're going to sudden death. Dan wins. I knew on the moment Dan won because Dan's performed better at the free for all. Ben's I think in most he's gone and won is 5 rounds. He's not great at the free for all. And that comes because he's going against really strong competition. But still, end of the day, Dan just would get better then. So,
wrapping this up, so Damaro now the new champion. It's he still seems to be intent on going into Innergeekdom, trying to do the Mackie Free Belts thing, Danny Free Belts. He kind of warded off people saying that, like, oh, I'm going to show more respect, so I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. But is that a smart move? You're a champion now in 2 leagues. Should you just focus on, just put off Innergeekdom for another year and just focus on the fact that you've got 2 fucking titles?
I think Dan is an incredibly advantageous position where he has such strong core knowledge that all he has to do is study IG stuff, and he can still win. Because, I mean, if you put Lord of the Rings and Star Trek on a wheel, 90% of players, if they hit that, they won't go perfect. Dan can still go perfect while maintaining a career in IG. I think he's in a great place where he doesn't need to ride that position to the top. Because you don't need to constantly be at the top of your game. It's once every 3 months you need to go in okay, I'm playing a singles title match. Let's review some of the stuff. Let's review my strengths. And then start quizzing yourself. What don't you know? Go through your old matches. Dan, sitting here, Dan is extremely likely to get. And I won't say he'll get that 3rd belt, but I think he can do very well in IG while still maintaining the singles title and defend it repeatedly.
Well, you also have to think about the Founding Fathers because they're going to have a match coming up soon against the winner of the Family and Corruption, and Dan's going to have to study for that team's title match along with IG. But I also think he has an advantage. He's got Mark Knopik in his corner helping him with IG.
It's an interesting situation, and it's really going to see how much Damaro can put himself through for this division. But on the other hand, what does Ben Bateman do now? Does he now focus on who's the boss, as you try and like get back to the pinnacle of the singles division, because it felt like there was something almost like he had a fantastic performance, but there was something that wasn't the boss about him that night.
Because he wasn't a heel. Like, honestly. And I think the same thing could happen for Andrew Guy coming into the match against Corruption or anything else the family does, is sometimes they're just meant to be a heel, and Ben might just play better as a heel. Granted, there is no proof of that, and he's performed better than ever as a face. But just speculatively, that may have been what held him back tonight. And I said that earlier, where if he actually played like a heel and didn't care about being respective, he could have won.
Also, post-match, he was definitely humbled by what happened because he knew he played a great strategy game, but he knew Dan played a better game, hands down. And he knew that no matter what character, storyline, whatever, he had to give props to Dan, and he had to sort of, take his medicine a little bit, settle down, and just accept and just bask in the glory that is Dan Murrell. Because I think after a performance like that, that's really all you can do.
Right. Do you think we see Ben Bateman in another title match this year, be it singles or teams?
I think if we do, I think in singles, if we do, it'll be at Spectacular, because I think this puts him out of the singles title picture. I think until maybe the tournament, he might have another chance in the summer. But also, I think for teams, they'll have a really good chance. Like if they beat the Odd Couple, they might get a number one contenders match, and they'll get a chance to maybe take on Founding Fathers. And who knows? Maybe if that happens, maybe they'll be on different factions by then.
No, because I think the issue is that we also have the next title picture set up. And Roka got into it. Him versus Oyama. The winner plays the winner of Snyder and Irwin. And then where does Ben fit into that? Because that's a good those matches fill up about a month, and then you got 2 months anticipation or something, and then by then you're into the summer, and maybe you get a really quick title picture. Maybe it's Ben versus Snyder again, or not again, but the possibility, because I don't think Snyder beats Irwin, and then he faces the loser. Or
maybe you have Ben against whoever comes out of this massive rookie gauntlet, whether it's the Barbarian, whether it's Ben Goddard or somebody like that. It won't be Ben Goddard, but somebody like that.
He has a chance. I honestly I think Ben can have what Snyder had in New York last season. That's the best chance Ben has until the tournament. But then the issue is, if he gets that, then he can't play in the tournament.
And he's done that before. He's been in that position before and ended up being knocked out for the tournaments. So it is an interesting position for Bateman to be in. It's because also it's a case of, can he turn his season around? Because we saw even Irwin last season, he lost the title first match out, and the rest of the season was pretty much a wash for him. Is Bateman able to pick himself up by the bootstraps?
He didn't play until he played Haley Fash.
Yep. And Time Machine was a bust. Sadly for Janine.
It malfunctioned.
All right. So one last, we'll have a quick discussion about this before we go. So, as Roka mentioned, there is that four-way picture for the title going forward. So it's Roka versus Oyama and then Irwin versus Snyder. Who do you think is going to be the person taking on Murrell? Actually, sorry, let me change that. 2 questions. Who do you think it is, and who do you think would have the best shot to beat Murrell?
Oyama, on both. Says he's done it before. He's beaten Murrell before, and he can do it again. And after getting knocked out at Spectacular, if you think Paul Oyama isn't going to come back with the most fire in his belly of almost any competitor we've ever seen, you're out of your mind. Paul Oyama, I think, is going to beat Roka. As much as I would like how Roka's playing right now, he's going to beat Roka. I think Oyama, what we saw in New York between Oyama and Snyder was a very diluted performance from both of them. Put them both at full strength. Oyama wins. Oyama versus Irwin would be a real fun match, but also Irwin still has a couple of nagging weaknesses I think Oyama can play on, and he can win. And I think Oyama has the best chance out of the 4 except maybe Roka, because Roka's been a teammate of Dan's for a while now. But I think it's still Oyama on both.
I think Oyama is a bet most likely to come out of the gauntlet. I think the most likely to beat Dan is actually Snyder, because I think let's look at this as a strategist first. I think with everyone in his faction in his corner, he studies animation and he studies Pixar. He beats Erwin. I think he doesn't take he's not as dedicated into the intense challenge of it like we saw today against Ben, and then him and Roka sort of just go back and forth, and Dan wins on pure knowledge. I think he has a fire under his belly, or under his ass, whatever you want, to get revenge on Oyama. He studies his ass off, beats Oyama. Snyder, he has the least to give a shit about, and Snyder has the most to give a shit about. I think Roxy will do 100% again as a manager. Snyder will know that he's good enough to be in a title contention, and he will work, and he will work, and he will do everything possible to beat Merle. He is the most hungry for a match against Merle, and Merle is the least hungry for a match against Snyder.
That's true, because if you look at it, like the only person that I think Merle could feel like a bit more confident about is facing Erwin, because he's beaten him before. Like Roka, obviously, you have that just competitive nature playing against your team partner and the person that's like your greatest rival. Oyama, he has a victory over him. Like Snyder's a complete fresh air for him, so that's going to be.
I don't think they've ever played each other, unless I'm forgetting something.
They would have played each other if Harloff had beaten Snyder. And yeah, but I agree that Snyder's going to be hungry. However, on pure knowledge, I think that his match with Erwin is going to be a bit rough. Because I think even if he beats Erwin, I think in a Roka Snyder rematch, I think Roka takes that, and I think in a Oyama Snyder rematch, Oyama takes that, because Oyama is still irritated about the New York performance.
Snyder is the least likely to win the actual bracket itself. Let's be fair here. Yeah. Snyder is far and away the weakest of those four competitors. However, who is the most likely to beat Merle? I think Merle now really intensely cares about the game, and I think Snyder is hungry for respect. I think this community does not give him enough respect, and he knows that.
Also keep in mind that if Merle would play Snyder, guess who's on the other side of Snyder? His former manager. So you would have Tom Dagnino going up against Jeff Snyder, and the last time Jeff Snyder went up against a client of Tom Dagnino's, JTE, he lost. The last time Snyder was up against somebody who was familiar with his game, he lost. And let's be honest, JTE should not have beaten Snyder on pure knowledge.
True.
Well, also that was a very tight match. Let's be fair.
It was, and I'm saying Merle Snyder would be a tight match. However, Dagnino's knowledge of Snyder would play a big factor in it.
If you're looking at managers, then Snyder does have the best manager in out the three that isn't Roka. Because you have Winston Marshall for Oyama and then Muhammad Bennett for Erwin. So with no offense to Winston, like he could be a fantastic manager. We've not seen him yet.
Winston is unproved, and he's only it's just been RB3. Winston has I think RB3. RMB is the worst manager of the 9. Let's settle that right now. He is by far and away the absolute worst manager. Fucking shit, man. Winston is untested because he's only been a manager for one match. We can't count him out. Yeah. And then Finstock is managing Roka. Roka's incredible. Finstock's incredible. I think that's the bigger match there. I think Erwin crushes Snyder any day of the week just because on pure knowledge. But Roxy managing somehow the number 4 seed in this is strange. But that Roxy as a manager is the only thing that gives me confidence that Snyder could somehow beat Erwin. Because Roxy does her homework, and she's a great, great, great manager.
Yeah, that I think might be Snyder's biggest weapon, especially going up against having another Roxy versus Dagnino match. All right, so that's pretty much it. Actually, one last thing I want to ask you too. Just one more question, one more answers I'm looking for. Free for all coming up at the end of it's technically this month now for the UK over here in the UK. Who's the outside shot to win?
Spence, go first.
Video Drew. I think she'll be like John Humphrey. Not John Humphrey. I think she'll be like Brienne. She'll come in late. I think she has enough core knowledge that she can come through in those last few rounds. And as long as you don't have like a Bibiani or a Merle who just like shot their way through, I think Video Drew can pull the upset. But also Tom can do it. Tom is scary.
I would say Tom's probably in your top like 6 or 7 people looking at it.
Yeah.
But
I have 2.
Go on.
One is Tom's teammate, Paul Preston. King Paul Preston has a very good shot to win.
Team Ayahuasca, yeah.
Chance Ellison.
Ooh.
We have not seen Chance since the team title match in Orlando.
True.
I am very, very confident that Chance Ellison is going to come out this season with fiery performance. First in the throwdown, and then in the free for all. And
did you see Meg's stats on Twitter? I think it was earlier yesterday. Chance Ellison is the only player ranked in the top singles competitors to have an average perfect first round, and as on top of that, has one of the highest accuracy rates going to the third round and highest points in the third round. Chance Ellison,
the most well-rounded knowledge of of any competitor. His season last year, he did win a belt, but it didn't end how he wanted it to. He lost in the first round to Bibiani, and he lost his team belt. But he's going to want that opportunity back because he knows in singles he's got to work his ass off to get a chance in singles. He's pretty set in teams, but if he can win that and get a single shot, we could be looking at a Bibiani situation where he's able to challenge for get a number 1 contender shot or a title match and be able to get the belt that way. So I think I think that's my outside pick to win.
Here's my pitch, Christian. Because I know to some extent maybe like Bibiani's number 1 seed seems sort of random, that it's random. So in some world where it's not entirely random, that this is some of these are preordained. Pitch for you. Your number 1 seed, Paul Yama. Number 2 seed, Chance Ellison. Number 3 seed, Janine the Machine. Your number 4 seed, Kevin Smets. And number 5 seed, Robert Parker. And see which fan leaguer goes the longest.
In general trivia, it's going to be either Paul or
Yama or Chance.
Yeah, Paul or Chance are like with an outside shot of Janine. Like Smets and Parker, like sadly, they just not being.
Don't discount Parker. He has 3-1 in singles.
And the reason I believe in Chance, it's a little something to do with our interview that we did with Shannon. If you want to know more about what she thinks about Chance, Mike, and the rest of Corruption, tune in Friday. We'll be dropping that Shannon interview right here on this channel, and you'll be able to get all the inside info on the Corruption of 2020.
Also, just quickly answer for myself. I'm going to steal what Leo Logan put in the chat. The Barbarian. No. I don't know why this is my 100-to-1, putting 10 quid on 100-to-1 shot in the hopes that I end up with $1,000. I just think if he comes in the last like 7 or 8, especially with the character work they can do just to kind of throw someone off for a little bit, I can see him going.
This is you walking into like the casino and putting 10 quid on 40 Ferrari again. And let me tell you why. No. I just hyped the Barbarian, but Leo, watch that match again. I went perfect in that match because those are easy fucking questions.
They were.
I say, I knew every single one of those fucking Oscar questions. Those were ridiculous's easy. I think we need to be fair here. We shouldn't hype him up too much. I think he's incredible, and I think he could make a sneaky run. He could be a very solid number 2 rookie of the year. But that's not to say he's great. I think we need to see where he goes next in his next match, which pound for pound he's probably going to beat Brett Sheridan or Ben Goddard. He can beat Ben Goddard.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just have that Brendan Meyer vibe about him, where he's just going to go in and just go on a tear.
Yeah, and they can get a bomb-ass teammate.
Also, Scully just getting praised for that segue earlier. Scully so good with that segue, he could have hurt JT.
Jesus Christ, Garth.
All right. So I think that's everything. We've been going an hour and 49 minutes. It's 4 a.m. in the morning over here in the UK. I want to go to bed. So quickly, Spencer, call to action, call to family. Go on.
Yeah. Hi. You can find me on Twitter at TemekuFilmNerd. That is at TEMEKU Film Nerd. Also, check me out on the Call to Action channel, where I host Call to Fan Leagues, where I interview people like these two bitches, as well as a lot of other people. On yesterday's show, I interviewed Caleb Boatman, Jake Marangoni, and Tim the Hulk Bracala, talking about a lot of snowball and a lot of title defenses, title matches, and stuff coming up soon. Also, check out I have a show coming out pretty soon called Movie Trivia of the Pacific, where I run my own trivia league. And it's not professional, and it's with students, so it's a little wonky, but it's a lot of fun. I should get the link hopefully soon. I just recorded my third show yesterday as well.
Your plugs are getting longer than Dagnino's promos at this point.
My plugs are as long as I want them to be. So check me out on the Year on Trial podcast with Jay Burns, Caleb Boatman, and Douglas Castle. I'm a very busy person. Fuck you, Scully. Go ahead. What are you gonna plug?
Well, my plug was the interview with Shannon. But look, if you want to just find me in general, you can follow me on Twitter, TCScully31. It's mostly sports tweets, some movie tweets, some Schmoedown tweets. But if you want to look inside this brain, watch that. Also, if you would, if by chance you want to watch a trivia match with me in it, watch Snowball 3, me versus Robert Parker. That's Robert Parker's most recent fan league match. Watch him tear my ass into mincemeat, and then watch him tear Ace's ass into mincemeat, because that is 100% what he's going to do. No question about that. So yeah, that's another shameless plug I got. Yes, the annoying one at the bottom.
Also, I want to make sure. I think I'm right here. Your title match is dropping tomorrow in multiplex.
So nice. Team title match. Me and Caleb Boatman playing against Jay Burns, Mark Meyer, Necronomicon. Our team is called Mystery Advantage because we both like Harry Potter. That drops tomorrow on the Multiplex Entertainment Channel. 5 rounds to see who will take Robert Parker's place as team champion of Multiplex Phantom Fights.
Yeah, Mark Kameyer, who also came on the show like an hour ago.
Oh yeah. He did for like 2 seconds. I still feel that number 1 contenders match, you got lucky. That team that you played against deserved to win.
100%. The team that Mischief Managed beat is the greatest fandom team of all time. Tony, give me money.
Yes. You got one of your biggest strengths, and we still TKO'd you. Great job.
Legitimately, we did not know it was a number 1 contenders match. We would have trained harder. But quickly.
Neither did I think anybody except me. I think I was the only one who remembered this was a number 1 contender match.
Yeah, no one told us. That's fantasy shit. No one needs to know. But quickly, please subscribe to the pages wherever you're watching this. Feature presentations, productions tomorrow. We have fancy film fights. That's Wednesday. Feature presentation trivia league. We have got Dave Goodyear off this clan, off the MBE crew, and Christina Vassallo, rookie in the families, taking on Aaron J, the winner of the rookie round robin tournament that we held last month, and Jacob E. West, Papa Boatman himself. So it's going to be a very fun team. Wednesday, Fancy Film Fights, the best Pixar characters. If you're interested in that, please go on the Fancy page. No. I'm going to change that name just so it doesn't start with F. Go on the feature page. Go on the feature presentation page, Facebook page. Join it and put your name down if you want to go on it. We always want rookies and newbies on it. And we're probably not going to recap matches if they're going to show the live matches again. But Friday, as we said, Shannon Barney is going to be on. It's a fantastic interview. Please watch it. We're going to preview the Throwdown match intently. Go watch Spencer's stuff. Go watch our stuff. Like, subscribe. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and see you soon. Bye-bye.